Hello, I am Jan from Prague, the Czech Republic, and today I am testing the Canon PowerShot V1. And at a first glance, it's clear that it'll be a perfect tool for situations when we need to film something quickly and in extraordinary quality, but at the same time, we just do not feel like carrying a big video camera. So, what is important to know about that camera? At the first glance, it's clear that it's aimed primarily at video creators, because there is no viewfinder. We have the articulating rear display, which I can just turn there and back, and at the moment, I'm just controlling what's happening in the footage. Then, of course, you will notice the amazing windscreen. And it's important to know that it's there, although you can remove it. And if you record video with a smartphone, for instance, what happens very often is that the quality goes down because of the wind. And now I am sure, at least my test suggests, that you won't hear anything. Obviously, the thing can be removed and you can work without it. It's a stereo, so I can, we can try. I'm just moving out of the frame and you can hear me from one side of the camera, and now I am moving back and you can hear the effect. So, of course, sound is really important. Then there is the quality of recording. The thing I am using now is in 4K 30 frames per second. But if I want, I can use even 60 frames per second, but then I have to crop it. Not me, but then the camera will do it. As you can see from these shots, because of the construction of the lens, even if you crop it, the frame would still be reasonably wide. Now I suggest we sum up some key specifications of this camera. And we are back from the walk in the nature, but I'm still using the camera to record my voice. What is really important to mention is the sensor size. It is so-called 1.4-inch sensor. It means it's a really big one. And of course, it influences the quality of recordings and photos. So this is another important definition point of this camera. The sensor has 22 megapixels, and then we have to mention lens, which is a zoom 16 to 50 millimeters. So it means that you are actually able to go really wide. And it's very useful for various types of footage, various types of photos. And there are many buttons you are able to use. I don't think it's important to name them all, but you can see them here. And of course, you can plug in your headphones or a microphone. So again, you would expect that. One more important point, you've already seen that there is this magical windscreen, which is extremely important. But just if you want, you can remove it, but you won't do it because it's really useful. Then we have the rotating display, which is incredibly important for shots like you've seen when I need to control what is happening in the frame. And it's not a real pocket size, but it's still really small camera. Now we can turn our attention towards settings. Again, it's very easy, it's very straightforward. This is what you'll see at the display. And you'll find here, well, pretty much typically what you would expect here to find. It means you can set autofocus or detection, which is incredibly important because, as you've seen, it's useful that I can trust the camera to keep the focusing points on me when I'm moving there and back. Let me point out one important detail. As we've mentioned, you can set very different size for recordings. And the maximum for the 4K without any crop would be 30 frames per second. It's here, and you can also decide whether it would be compressed or not. One important note, if you are using the non-compressed file, it'll be really a lot of data. And you can see that recording had about 5 minutes, and it's really huge. Please do experiment with that, and maybe the slightly lower quality might be a better solution. And some more settings. You have ND filter, which can be really handy, or you can of course set volume and many other parameters. I don't think it's important to go through them because you'll discover them by yourself. The same, of course, can be found at the photo mode. Again, you can set pretty much everything you are willing and used to set from your camera, so white balance, picture style, and all these things. And sometimes you might need to go to the main menu and there is just one point I'd like to mention, which is right here. You are able to set the mode of cooling fans. And it's important because, you know, anytime we are recording videos, there is a lot of heat being created, and Canon has decided to give us that option. So if you for some reason need to turn it off, here is the option. And now a couple of examples of videos. Again, I was using them through that review, so you've seen some of the best parts what I've done during these days of testing. I really loved this one because this flower and a cup of coffee in a coffee house is a just amazing example how well you are able to play with the focusing points and recordings, and I'm able to keep the focusing points on the flower even when I am moving there and back. So I think it's quite impressive. And this is my favorite view of Prague, and I'm showing it to you because we can see again the difference between the wide angle and then the zooming when we go up to 50 millimeters. And again, I think it's very useful that we have that wide end for the lens and for the footage. Some more examples, you just won't be surprised. I like flowers, I like to test my cameras in very different lighting as I do here. And finally, let me show you a couple of examples of still photography. You've seen a lot of video recordings, so these would be shots taken at the same locations. And once again, I think you are able to see very quickly that the quality is really very good. And yes, of course, the advantage of bigger sensor is clearly seen here as compared to normal mobile phones or even professional compact cameras. So great quality, great work with depth of field and a lot of fun. Another photos, another flowers, and the same place like we've seen with the video examples and famous Prague castle. The same flowers, same park, and let's finish our review at the same place like we started. It is amazing park called Divoká Šárka, so a lot of trees, a beautiful pine, and some more details. And final photos, trees in the late afternoon light, and a lot of shadows, a lot of lights, and a final shot of our review. So, thank you so much for your attention. I hope I gave you some inspiration, and take care. I'm Jan from Prague, the Czech Republic.